I am Lindsay Christians. I am the food editor at the Capital Times. I've been writing about food here in Madison since about 2008. Really excited to be filling in for Kyle tonight, especially because I get to talk to Chef Sarah, whose work I have loved for many years. Sarah can tell us a little bit more about her own background, but she is the chef at Monteverde Restaurant and Pastificio? Pastificio. Oh, gosh.
It's okay. Either one works.
But a gorgeous restaurant, been around in Chicago since 2015. Is that right?
Yes.
Nice.
So lucky.
We are so happy to have you up here, and we're so happy you came up before it started snowing and possibly causing all kinds of problems. So,
I mean, really.
But I wanted to sort of start off a little bit with you, just having you tell us a little bit about your background and how you first got into cooking in Texas.
Well, I'm from Texas.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lindsay. It's such an honor to have you here. We're sad Kyle couldn't make it, but I'm very excited to have you.
Yeah.
So I'm originally from Houston, Texas, born and raised. When you are raised in Texas, you kind of don't leave is kind of the thing they try to instill in all of us at a young age, which I think is very Wisconsin too, right? There's a lot of state pride here. I love to cook. I mean, I think it starts with loving to eat first. If you don't love to eat, then you shouldn't be cooking. It's really simple as that. If you don't like to cook, if you don't like to eat, don't trust the chef that's cooking for you. But right when I was 12 is when the Food Network came out, and Emeril Lagasse had a show called Essence of Emeril. There was a show called Chef du Jour, which was like a different chef every episode. I mean, this was like a long time ago. This was back before there was Iron Chef and Top Chef. So I think I realized that you could be a chef, that like there's actually people that are chefs. Growing up in Texas, I kind of went to more chain restaurants that maybe there wasn't a chef face as the presence of the restaurant. So that kind of helped me figure that line of work. But I just loved it. I love to cook at home, and I love to cook with my family and my grandparents, who are still kicking it and doing very well. My grandfather's 91, and my grandmother's about to be 90, and they're gonna have their 70th wedding anniversary coming up. I know, isn't that amazing? 70 years. So they kind of, my grandfather had cattle. My grandmother grew up picking cotton, making pickles, making bread, making jams, making cookies. Like there was always something homemade at the house that wasn't like what you'd buy at the store. And I think that was important as a child to learn that you can make these things. Like bread is something you can make versus, the sandwich loaf that comes in the bag, and that beef and chicken that comes on like that styrofoam tray is so foreign to what it actually is. So I worry about the young kids in our big cities not understanding that. So I'm very blessed. So I think all that kind of combined with loving to eat, Food Network, making actual food, and then being at the table was my fun place. So I was raised by a single mom and an only child, and my mom traveled a lot during my childhood to work. And so I kind of, eating around the table with family or friends was the thing to look forward to.
Yeah. So were you a big experimenter as a kid? Like when you first started cooking for yourself, did you have any notable disasters or successes?
Yeah, I think so. I remember the first thing I made was mac and cheese.
Nice.
And it was from scratch with Velveeta, so I don't know if that really counts. But made the best mac and cheese. It wasn't the box, all right? It wasn't the packet box. And then my grandfather, because he had the cattle, we always had this deep freezer full of white paper wrapped meats and mystery meat. Yeah, a lot of and is it in the freezer too long? Does that freezer burn? I don't know. So a lot of cutlets. And so we did a lot of chicken fried steak kind of things. And then I grew up fishing with them. So we would go down the Gulf Coast and go wade fishing and fish for redfish and speckled trout. And I don't know any disasters. The main disaster, I remember my mom, she wouldn't like the story, but we would I mowed the yard, and then she weed eated, because as a kid, no weed eater is dangerous. And then she's like, Sarah, bring me a beer. I really just want an ice cold beer. And I went into the freezer and I got a cream soda and a beer and mixed it half and half and brought it out to her, and it was the most supposedly gross thing in the world. which she's gonna be embarrassed I told that story, but that's, I guess, my first experimentation of some concoction that I thought would be good. I don't know why I did that, but.
So tell us a little bit about your path to Chicago, because you're in Chicago now. You
Yes.
did leave Texas.
Oh gosh.
Against all odds.
One of the only people in my family to leave this big, great state of Texas. I was 24. So I'd worked in the restaurant, I have a restaurant called Brennan's in Houston, which is the Commander's Palace family. Ella Brennan was the matriarch of that family, and they've had restaurants in New Orleans since, gosh, the 40s, I think, a very long time. And I kind of worked my way up through that kitchen. I became a sous chef at the age of 22, which was pretty incredible. And I was a sous chef there for 2 years. And my chef was like, you need to go do stuff. Like, you can't stay here. If you stay here, you aren't going to be as good as you can be. So I was like, Mom, I'm going to move to San Francisco. And she was like, no, that's too far and too many time zones. And then New York, I was like, there's no way I'm ready for that city. That's a big city. And then there was Chicago, right in the middle, kind of like my Little Red Riding Hood, just right temperature city. And it's the same time zone, and Southwest is hubs, and you can like be in Houston and Chicago within like 2 hours. So I flew up to Chicago, staged at some restaurants, went back to Chicago, staged at Spiaggia, and Missy Robbins hired me, and gosh, I called my mom, I said, I'm moving to Chicago. And then she cried, and then I cried, and then she flew up the next day, and then we looked for apartments. So, yeah, it was fast. It was like a quick move and a quick figure it out. I was way over my head at Spiaggia and way over my head in Chicago. I think like I had worked in what was maybe one of the more fine dining restaurants in Houston, which was nowhere even close to what the fine dining level was in Chicago. And, I didn't quite understand how a sauce on a piece of fish was olive oil. Like, that's weird. Like, cooking Texas Creole, like roux and stock and all, 18 things in a dish. And then Italian, perfectly poached langoustines with cracked coriander. Like, really simple stuff that if you messed up, you couldn't hide with the sauce on top or extra garnishes. You laugh, but I mean, it was like, whew, what did I get myself into? And of course, being, stubborn, I wasn't going to give up. So I didn't, which I'm glad I did not give up.
Yeah. So there was a time there where you had some Michelin stars at that restaurant, right? And I wonder, did the pressure change? Did it feel different? Like,
oh gosh,
having that kind of outside recognition on that major scale?
Well, Michelin Guide came to Chicago, and they awarded Spiaggia with 1 Michelin star, and I was I can't remember if I was the chef de cuisine or the executive chef then, but it was a big deal for us. I think, you always ask yourself, what does it take to have more? Like, how do you get more? And in the U.S., more is something that we're kind of obsessed by, when 1 is great. Just be happy you have 1 Michelin star. You don't need 8. No, so it was great and exciting. But there was always something fun happening at Spiaggia. And Chef Tony Montuano, who is a local Wisconsin guy from Kenosha, he was an incredible mentor and an incredible just being in the kitchen. He was calm and kind of like, just walk around and look, and you're like, does he like it? Does he not like it? I'm not sure. So he was really pushing Spiaggia to the next level. Spiaggia is actually turning 35 this year. Oh, so to consider a restaurant that opened in 1984, still at the top of their game in Chicago, still has retained that Michelin star, is incredible amongst the different chef de cuisines that have come in and kind of taken over.
Yeah. The first time I ever heard of you, and I'm sure many people this is true for, is when you went on Top Chef.
Oh, yes.
In season 9?
Oh, yes, season 9. And Texas, too. Like, to get the opportunity to do Top Chef Texas, the actual two people in the finale were from Texas, which was crazy. Paul Key and I were the only 2, but I don't know, maybe that was an advantage.
Yeah, maybe. I wonder, like, what is sort of the thought process going into being like, okay, like, I've got into this thing, I'm going to do it. Like, did you have a goal going in? And were there things that, like, you wish you could have, like, told yourself now that having done it, like?
That's a very big question. Of course, right? There's always hindsight 2020, and I'm much wiser than I was back then. Well, doing a TV show is insane, and it's totally not whatever you think it's going to be. I was a big fan of the show, so I would sit on the couch with Jamie, who's my fiance. He's in the back over there. Hi, Jamie. Hi, everyone. So we would sit on the couch, and he would be like, what would you make if you had this hot dog challenge? And I'd be like, da-da-da-da, shrimp hot dog, and da-da-da-da. And he would be like, you got to go on that show. What's wrong with you? Why aren't you signing up? So I'm so glad that I did. If I would tell myself then that, like, I think what Chef Tony told me was such great inspiration and advice is he told me that, because he did Top Chef Masters, which is how I got roped into this whole thing. He's like, you're going to be surprised how hard it is by yourself, like to have no one there. So every kitchen you grew up in is like thousands of people, not really, but like 10 people around you helping you. And so to go on a show like that where there is no one else and you have to dig deep and really find the courage to do what you want to do, the brains to not do too much, and like that's really hard. So I think what I would tell myself is to have a better haircut and seriously, it was terrible. It was terrible. So that's haircut and just believe in yourself a little more. But you have to go through hard things like that to figure that out. So I wouldn't have listened to myself then. I would have been like, no.
You wouldn't have taken your own future years advice. Yeah.
No.
Well, you've continued to do some television stuff. You're just on the Today Show.
I was just on the Today Show. How
Very exciting.
Incredible fun was that? Yeah. About 3 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago, yeah.
Early in the morning?
Yes, we did this Saturday. They actually featured Monteverde on the Saturday show, which is about, gosh, what's the name? What's the name of that? Do you remember? No?
Tough tables.
Huh?
Tough tables.
Well, it's about tough tables. So it's about like reservations that you can't get into. And so Monteverde is kind of hard to get into.
Just go really
But
early.
it's really hard on a Saturday at 7, okay? So it's about tough tables, and it was about the restaurants and about what we do there, and pretty cool.
My secret is going early and dining alone at the bar.
I mean, that's
what I do.
the bar is incredible.
Yeah.
The bar is the best spot.
I just camp out. It's so great.
Thank you.
And I love watching the women making the pasta, because
Yes.
there's the mirror that's above, and so you
Yes.
can watch it. And I was sort of talking about this before too. Like, I saw you actually once do a Facebook Live where like,
I was like, what
you
is she
were
talking
on
about?
video in the restaurant. So I was sitting in the restaurant and I was watching you on Facebook Live, and I was able to like comment and say, I'm eating this thing that I was eating.
you
It
were.
was so good. And we pulled it up, and my comment is like still sitting there on Facebook
We did.
Live.
We just pulled it up, and it was like right there. I was like,
Yeah.
Oh my God,
I was
so
like,
fun.
that's me. But I wonder though, like, so having done some television appearances, I wonder if that has informed how you think about how the restaurant like presents itself in those kinds of ways, because particularly the pasta area feels like theater to me. Like, as a
Yes.
theater person, that feels like theater.
So I was a thespian in high school.
Yes.
So
Go team.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So when I there's a whole lot to talk about, but I got an opportunity to go to Italy and train, and I've been now like 14 times. Not that I'm counting. I am, of course. But the first trip I went to Italy, and I saw pasta being made to order, and like brain went like explosion, like light bulbs are going off. Like, how does this happen? How do you make pasta alla minute? And the answer is you have 20 seats and 3 Michelin stars. That's how you do pasta alla minute.
It's one way.
So I was like, gosh, I really want to do that at Monteverde. So we actually built a pasta station. So at most restaurants that I'd worked, or what I'd seen, is that pastas are made during the day and by a team in the morning and then cooked in the evening, which is a perfectly great way to do it. Many restaurants are very successful in it. What I wanted to do was show the craft of pasta. So I think that when you can see it being made, it's really interesting and really like fun to like see someone actually crafting it. So we built the pasta station, which is pastificio. Pastificio means pasta factory in Italian. Factory doesn't translate out as well, but so we basically make all the pasta there at night, and we make it while you order it. So any fresh filled pasta is rolled, filled, cut, put on a plate, and walked to the pasta station, and then goes into the water, and then into the water to the sauce, and to your table within 10 minutes. And that is insane. To taste a ravioli that is like 3 minutes old. And what's so fun about it is that the dough is really thin and that the pasta is like really light. It's like way lighter. It's not as heavy. We have also an extruder that is used to extrude the pasta. So there's many different types of pasta, but the pastificio is the place where we do all that, and we have a mirror that hangs above the cutting board where our team works, and people call it the pasta TV. They like it because they're like, oh, I can sit at the bar and watch the pasta TV. Like, it's way better than CNN, so it sounds good. So yeah.
That's really. It makes it. I will say it ruins you for pasta.
Ooh, yeah, that's why we're
ruins
busy.
you. And it like because it is so incredibly delicate and just like but it's the texture.
It melts in your mouth. Yes, and
it's incredible.
So our fillings can be much more soft. I think when we had to make pasta ahead of time, you had to make sure the pasta filling was much drier so that the bottom sheet doesn't get too soggy. So there's like a lot between like what you put inside of it versus not. And there are some pastas that are better to dry a little bit. Like the one I'm going to demo today is tagliolini, which is good if you let the sheet kind of get a little bit of skin, if you will, on top before you cut it. So there's just different ways, but I think filled pasta is great. And in many dim sum restaurants, when we went to Hong Kong and saw that, they were making many of those dumplings to order. And I think that you could really look at this culturally around the world and see how pasta, how noodles, how dough is something that is very comforting. And that's really, I think, the secret of our restaurant is that the food is very comforting and very soulful. And all of us love pasta, and you've had pasta everywhere, but when you can have something that surprises you, that you're like, I haven't had that before though, that's the magic. And it doesn't have to be a crazy flavor combination. It can be focusing in on the craft and the simplicity of the dish, which I think is what Italian food really taught me.
I wanted to know too. You mentioned traveling a little bit here, and so and you've said before that like the vegetables will speak to you.
Yeah, so that was Chris Shepard, who's an amazing chef in Houston. He was my very first sous chef. He hired me out of culinary school, and we had a kitchen table at Brennan's. So it was one of the first restaurants to really have a kitchen table, and every station was responsible for a course of the kitchen table menu. So it was like 7 courses. So if you worked garde manger or pantry station, then you made the salad. And then if you worked hot apps, you did the soup and the hot appetizer. And if you worked Creole sauté, then you did the Creole sauté dish, and so on and so forth. So I'm on a station and I'm like, God, I don't know what I'm gonna work for my special for kitchen table, which that's crazy to let a bunch of young cooks just make dishes for a table that you're spending like $100 on. I don't know why they did that, but he's like, let's go in the walk-in and see what talks to you. And I was like, what? And he's like, let's go in the walk-in and see what talks to you. And it was so smart because those beets were like, Sarah, cook me, I'm ready for you. And like no one was cooking beets back then. This is in 2001. Beets are not cool yet, I'm telling you. They were not on every menu yet. And so I did this like large diced roasted beet with apple, and I served it with quail, and it was like so beautiful. And it was like I don't know, it's like now silly, but then really fun, so.
It sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
How do you get inspiration for the dishes that you're doing now? Because the menu changes like fairly frequently, right?
Yeah, so inspiration now really comes from either like an ingredient or a place or a culture, or it needs to come from a memory. I think that some of our menu items are divided up between like super traditional Italian things, and then some are much more like people be like, this isn't Italian food. I don't know. I didn't see this at all those other Italian restaurants I grew up going to. And so it's really about the different regions. So regional Italian cuisine is like a whole nother class. I mean, it's like 12, 20 classes. But I try to pull inspiration throughout the seasonality. So in the summer, we focus more on like the southern Italian regions, and in the winter, we focus more on the northern regions. And then sometimes it's dishes like my grandmother's stuffed cabbage that I grew up with that I found a way to manipulate into one of the most popular dishes at Monteverde. So it just depends on like a memory or a place. We actually have a wok in our kitchen, which I'm actually going to do one of the wok dishes for you today, which is atipica, which means atypical in Italian. And so it's Italian at heart, but the hand is not. And so I always ask myself with a dish, does it feel Italian? It might not have Italian ingredients or an Italian technique, but does it feel Italian? And I think that's the question that I have to ask before we put on the menu.
One of the things that's always struck me as I keep going back to Monteverde, which I have to say is not typical for me because I always want to go to the new place. I live here, I don't live in Chicago, so it's always like I want to try the new thing, and yet I've been to Monteverde like 5 times,
Thank you.
which
That's
is
awesome.
crazy to me. And I've taken people.
Craveable is important.
But the thing about it, one of the things I really like is I realized that like I go by myself and I sit at the bar and I ask my server, the bartender, and I say, what are you excited about? And I eat whatever they tell me to, right? Because they're always excited about something, and I like pretty much everything. So I was like, and he's like, well, this is about to go off the menu, and it's just so good, and you have to try it. And so to me, what that tells me is that you have a very engaged staff.
Thank you.
And you have a staff who like is excited about the food, who is like excited to be like hand selling whatever it is. And so I've been writing a lot and hearing a lot about challenges with staffing as Madison's restaurant scene in particular just continues to grow and really put more demands on staffing. Getting trained staff, keeping them.
Yes.
And I wonder if you have any
expensive
Yeah.
to train staff, so you want to keep them once
Yeah.
they're trained.
So I wonder if you have any just thoughts about like maybe how the industry is starting to address those challenges with staffing, and anything that you do in your own restaurant that helps you find the right people and then keep them.
This is a great question. I think that there's so many restaurants, and my experience is Chicago, right? So Chicago, like how many types of restaurants are there? like thousands. So it's important for the young culinarians to really think about what they want to do and what they want to cook. Because I can't force a cook that has a Michelin vision to come to Monteverde. Like it's not going to work. So like if you want to cook pasta, if you want to cook Italian food that is like I want them to eat it and go, oh my God, which almost happens every time. But if a cook can figure that out, then yes, you want to work in Monteverde. You want to cook from that place. So I was talking to Lindsay before, and I said I cook from an emotional place. I think as a female and as a female chef, which is like a very loaded thing, conversation also to talk about. But I cook from an emotional place. I cook from a place of a nurturing place. And so I want guests to come in and like eat something that they like escape. Like you're in the Uber that took the wrong way and your work job, like something happened at work, or your kids just yelled at you on the phone, or like whatever it is. Like I want you to walk in Monteverde and go, oh, I'm here, and I don't have to worry about any of that. Mm-hmm. And so that's really key. And same for the restaurant, for the team that works there. They need to feel that same escape. Everyone has 1,000 things going on in their life, and work should be a place where they can come and like have a good time. So we try to do different things. I mean, we're working on more educational stuff with our cooks. I think it starts with the stages. So every person that stages at our restaurant gets paid for their stage, which some people might go, whoa, really? And then some people go, you didn't pay them already? Like, there's many people that stage for free. So we pay for our stage, and we'll actually give them cash when they leave. What is stage? Yeah. Okay, so stage is in a French stagiaire. It's like, basically, it's like a working interview. You go in and you kind of work for free that day. I get to see if you're good. Hopefully they get to see if it's a place they want to work. It's really successful. It really helps both parties figure out, is this the right fit? So we pay the person that's staging that day. And then after they've kind of walked through the different stations, then we set them down at the bar. Single diner at the bar. We sit them down at the bar and we invite them for a glass of wine, or so, if they're, whatever they want to drink, and then have like a 2 or 3 course meal. So I want them to experience the restaurant from that diner's place.
Nice.
Like if you don't get that, then you aren't gonna be good in the kitchen. So all that whole and it's all connected. There's all like there's something there. There's a little magic there, I think. And so if you want one thing, how do you get it, and how do you bridge that? So,
do you have a lot of people that failed that? I would think because anybody would come there for a job with like, man, this is going to be the greatest thing, and you would make the best of that opportunity. So do people really blow it during that time?
Do they blow it during the stage?
Yeah.
No one blows. No one blows it in the stage. I think it's more about I really want the cook to want to work there. I look for what they're not saying, not what they're saying. So it's really important that the team that they stage with, I ask all the cooks, do you think we should hire this person? So it's if someone's mean or someone's weird, then they're not going to fit. weird is not the right word, but you know what I mean? Like if there's like if it's the wrong energy, then it's not going to be a good team environment. And I'm a very weird person, so I celebrate all that.
And some people stage, it's like a really, really short-term internship, right? So like I've heard of people who will like go and stage at like these amazing restaurants just so they can learn for a couple of days.
Yes.
And so it's not even so much that it's like a job interview even, it's just so much like, I want to stage at these places around. I know Justin... Yeah, Carlisle from Arden. I know that he will like have his cooks stage in other places, right? Because he wants them to get that experience. And so it's just sort of about like arrows in your quiver, I guess, or like connections that you're making.
Yeah.
And I find that very interesting.
Yes.
I wonder when you think about the future of Monteverde, are you thinking about like the direction or the way that you want to grow? Do you want to have lots of Monteverdes in every city in America? Do you want to have a lot of different concepts in Chicago? I don't know. Not to put ideas.
There's.
Come here.
I'm already at that fork in the road.
Right.
So we have opportunity to grow more Monteverdes, or we have the opportunity to grow more one-off concepts. And so I'm not sure what the best. I don't think I'll ever know. It's kind of like Top Chef. I won't know until afterwards. And then I'll know if it was the right move or not. I think that we want to grow our business and grow our culture for Chicago and other places, but I'm not quite sure which is the right move yet. I think ultimately first we're going to open another restaurant in Chicago. And then hopefully, if the opportunities are still around, maybe open another Monteverdes. Because I think Monteverde is a really special restaurant. Monteverde is like my heart in a menu and in a restaurant. And so I struggle with how do I create another Monteverde and or something on that scale. And I don't know. It's special. Like you have to, like I love it. So like if you don't love your restaurant, then you shouldn't be having a restaurant. Simple, right? You're laughing, but I'm serious. It's like
the restaurant. I know what you mean.
it's like some minutes you're like, I hate this thing. Get this out of here. My business partner talks about like how hard it is. Like it's almost like having children because at some point you're like, God, they cannot do anything without. Like that's what you sometimes think. How can they not make these decisions without me? Do they need me to do these decisions? And then in like 5 years, we're going to be like, oh, they don't even need me for decisions anymore. So what am I here to do? So there's like there's two ways to look at it because you want everyone to grow, but then you also don't want to not be needed anymore.
Yeah. Well, I remember being surprised that the very first year you got on the list for Best Chef Great Lakes,
Yes.
you won.
I won.
Yeah, 2017, which is
That's
amazing.
insane. Thank you.
Yeah. And like nobody who gets on that James Beard Award, long list for the first, it just never happens.
Yeah, even
like,
a friend of mine who was on the list with me, he was like, yeah, right.
Yeah, it never
Don't even
happens.
think about you or no. He's like, no one wins the first time. So then I was like, thanks, you're that's not nice, but fine. and I was like, well, maybe he's right. Maybe I won't win. And then after I won, he actually came, so we threw this impromptu party at that night afterwards. And then he came and bartended. He's like, I'm coming to bartend. It's so sweet.
That's really nice,
That's
actually.
Abe Conlon. He's like the best at Fat Rice. And then he won the next year. So it's all about karma.
Yeah, it's
It's
good
all about
karma.
karma.
So I wonder though, did that have an impact in terms of raising your profile? Did it have positive effects, negative effects, both, or neither?
From the get-go, Monteverde was more and bigger and faster than any of us thought it was going to be. So I'd worked in restaurants that had extremely slow nights and extremely busy nights, and knock on wood, where's the wood? Monteverde doesn't have any of those. Not yet, at least, which I am fearful for the day that happens, and how do we then address our business? There's no worse problem than having a slow restaurant. But there's also many problems with having a busy restaurant. And I think that there were a lot of things that went to the back burner, like costing. I didn't cost half the recipes to start. I was like, we're just putting it on the menu, let's just get it on. Because there was no time. Seriously, there's no time. To bread our arancini, the first 2 months of the restaurant took a cook 5 hours to do. Now it gets done like this, but the wheels don't move fast in a new restaurant. Nothing moves quickly. But the guests coming in were very, they were there and they were excited. And so, I don't know where I was going with that, but basically it's been great to have a busy restaurant, and but it's hard on the team. It's hard to have a busy night after busy night after busy night.
Yeah, to never have like a little bit of a slower time where you can kind of catch your breath and think.
Yeah, no, there's not a lot of those. But we do try to get everyone to sit down and have staff meal and take a break. But it's hard. Like, I remember when I was a young cook, I didn't want to take a break. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm going to push through. Well, maybe you're really not going to push through, because at 9:30, are you going to be the best that you could be? Probably not. So, like, it's hard to teach young cooks how valuable and important those, like, the older person knows now, right? Like, I'm like, you need to let your brain shut off for 10 minutes and not look at your phone.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's a really demanding job, sort of both
It is.
physically and mentally, emotionally. I wonder, like, do you have advice for like young folks coming up, like about how to prepare for that?
Well, I would say if you're opening a restaurant, make sure it's something. I mean, our formula was my business partner, so Meg Saz, her and I worked at Spiaggia together. We were line cooks together. She's like my very first friend that I met in Chicago. Her and I opened the restaurant together, but her husband worked at Spiaggia with me. Jamie worked at Spiaggia. We all were line cooks together, and then we have another partner, Rob Mosier, who is cooked, but now is in the wine business, and he's our other kind of he's actually joining our crew more as an operational partner this year, which is why we're going to grow. But work with people that you love and work with people who have your weakness. Like Meg and I are complete opposites, and we work well because I have what she has and she has what I don't have. Seriously, like no one can be the complete package. So find partners that can support you and know your faults and know your weaknesses and not beat you up on those is really key. And then I think find a concept that is really authentic. I think that diners want something that is real. Like, you can dine out all the time and have a meal where you're not satisfied. And that's like the most annoying. Like, nothing was wrong, right? The food was perfectly fine. The drinks were good. Like, nothing was wrong. But it was missing that, like, the reason why I went to the restaurant in the first place, not to cook it at home. So, like, don't forget that. Like, remember, like, you're trying to get people to come out and do this. And so that would be my best advice, is authenticity and work with people that you like. Which seems simple, but
I love how you're using the word authenticity, because I don't think that you're talking about like authentic Italian, like it is this one thing.
No.
It's more this larger idea of authenticity, and it's sort of like, it's actually a word that I never use in my food writing, because it's a hard thing to pin down. It's like, it's like ethnic. I don't use that either. Like, what does it really mean, right? And so, but when you talk about this authenticity, one of the things I thought maybe we would chat about a little bit is just like the way that food trends go. And I think that one thing that's interesting is I can usually tell whether that kale is there because they think it should be, or it's there because they just really love this particular prep, and it's really this wonderful way of using it that, like, the vegetable spoke to them and they were excited about it.
Food trends are hard. I think that what it was crazy was Monteverdi, we didn't set out to, that's what it was. We didn't set out to win awards, but we did. Like, Monteverdi, we won Best New Restaurant for Food and Wine, Best New Restaurant for Eater, Best New Restaurant Bon Appetit. I won Chef of the Year.
Top 50 in the country, right?
Yeah. So it was insane. And trends, like, now there's several restaurants that have pasta features or are making pasta. And maybe they're not doing it all to order, they might be. But we went to Detroit, and there's a restaurant called She-Wolf there that's named after, I love the name. It's named after the story of the two brothers in Rome that were found in the river, and then the She-Wolf adopted them, and then she nursed them, and then they're the ones that started Rome, okay? So She-Wolf is the name, and they have a pastificio. And we went there, and I was like, I gotta see what this pastificio is about. Like, let's see what it's about. And they were like, Sarah, we love your restaurant, and now we have a pastificio because of you, and we've been like 10 times, and thank you for doing this. And now they've done it in their way, more Roman pastas and things, but like, that was so cool for me.
You didn't
to
know that
see.
they had done that?
So I think, like,
that's cool.
Part of setting trends is doing what, again, is authentic to you, can maybe like relate to somebody, like, oh, I would like that too, or that is important to me. And then I guess trends, I don't know, I would like restaurants to think about dishes that are, and we aren't even that good at it yet, so it's something that I'm thinking about, is having menus that are maybe more balanced with things that you could eat every day, that's more healthful options versus like I'm going out and eating like ice cream sundaes and you know what I mean? Like I think that like there's times where I want to go out and just have a really nice piece of grilled fish and some vegetables and maybe an appetizer. But sometimes I think chefs, we think of like fried this and fried that and then this sauce and then this is unhealthy. Like, so it just gets to be like maybe a little bit too gluttonous. Fonte is not there yet, though. I don't want anyone to look at the menu and go, scaling schnitzel, that's not healthy, chefs. So, and then I think you're going to see a lot more grain, like rice bowls. And I mean like heirloom varietal rices or grains, not like, you know.
White and brown.
Yes, like I think that you'll see more artisanal grains in food.
Your quinoas, your farros, your that kind of thing.
Yeah, even like if you think of like Anson Mills and you think of like Carolina Gold
the
rice.
Carolina Gold, yeah.
And like the different types of rice and then, so.
The great availability of that.
Like I think you're gonna see more of those as like small plates.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
as like not as like you order this as your whole meal. It's more like kind of like a small pasta is, but it's more of like a grain.
For sure. I wonder, like we all have busy lives, and you have a very busy life, and yet you decided to come up here and do this chat and this demo. Why is education important to you?
Well, I had great teachers that helped me in my growing up in this industry, and so I love what I do, and so I love telling my story, and I love meeting people and hopefully inspiring people to want to do more in this industry. I think it's one of the most special things that we can do every day is cook something and feed somebody. Like it really is like the most like thing that life is based on. You know what I mean? Sharing a plate and doing that. I think we could work out a lot of issues through that and remembering that. And so I also love to talk about pasta and food. So if y'all want to give me some food and some alcohol, I'm ready to come every week. So.
Are you ready to cook? Do you want to cook some
absolutely.
stuff here? All right. Let's do it.
Thank you. Ooh, off the hot seat now.
Taking
We can
things
have some
down without
fun.
flashing anybody, right?
All right, so the restaurant that made the restaurant really, different was the Pastificio, but we also have a walk. We actually have like a full-on jade walk station in our restaurant, which is not typical for an Italian restaurant. And I had a chef friend, he's a great chef, his name is Bill Kim. So we would go to his place, it's called Urban Belly.
Yes.
Have you been?
Yeah.
So Chef Bill Kim was kind of like really taking the lines of like different foods, cultures in Asia and Italian, and like I think if you think of the spice road coming from China all the way through, through the Middle East, through Greece, through Turkey, all of that, like there's so much food that traveled that direction. So we talked about like noodles and sauces. So he was making like a bolognese, but with Chinese black beans and pork and mushrooms. And I was like, that's such a good idea. That's amazing. So then we were just talking about like different ways of cooking pasta. And in my travels throughout Italy, I've met a lot of Italians who don't like Italian food or American, they like American food fine, but we tend to put too much stuff on the plate or too much stuff going on. So when I was trying to think of how to make pasta different, cooking in a wok is different, but it's not an ingredient, okay? This is like a technique that adds something different, but it's not like me adding 5 things to the dish. So the dish we're gonna make today is arrabbiata, which arrabbiata means angry in Italian. And how do you make a pasta more angry? Cook it in a wok at like 80,000 BTUs, right? I mean, that wok it's like an airplane engine. You turn it on, whoo, like they have one back there, it's insane. So like that's how you make the pasta more angry without putting other stuff in it. So yeah, so that's the story of the dish. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make some dough. Do you wanna help me?
I would love to help you.
We did not talk about this. I should have gotten you an apron.
I'm happy to. I bring some.
So I like to do, this is like the most simple pasta dough. First of all, get a gram scale. If you don't have a scale at home, please, I'm telling you, cups are bad. Cups make every recipe turn out weird. So if you can find a recipe or a cookbook that actually has weighted ingredients, it's going to be the most amazing recipe to make other than cups. This is 100 grams of flour per egg. So here we're doing 200 grams of flour. The chefs here actually told me they needed to do 3 eggs, so it also depends on the size of your eggs. Our eggs might be a little bigger, or it might be a little drier. It actually still might be a little drier up here than
Yeah, I actually
down
think it
there
is,
right
yeah.
now. But
And the pressure is different in different places.
that pressure is, yeah, totally different. So you make this well. You could also use your KitchenAid if you'd like. I don't know if I have a fork. Is there a fork? No fork? That's fine. This is how you improvise. We're good.
Empty
So the idea here is that you want to just stir. You want to kind of break these up. Oh, you don't want to break the moat. So you're like, have this flour that's kind of like you're, keeping everything in like the volcano, right?
Is that a 00 flour?
This is 00, yes.
So fine. It almost looks
It's
like
so
sugar.
fun. So 00 is the grind or the mill. 0, I think all-purpose is either a mix of them or it's at 0, and 00 is one even further. So
Is there any salt in there or anything like that? Just
No,
flour?
we don't put any salt in our dough.
Oh,
No.
okay. It's all
we
in
just
the water?
heavenly salt the water, yeah.
Oh, like the sea?
Like this, it better tastes like the ocean. Well, it depends on what you're making, but yes, I think so. All right, so.
It looks like egg. It looks like, thank you.
Thanks, that's okay. Don't worry, it's okay, we don't need it.
It's too late.
So, you gotta start to get it to come together.
Are you worried at all about overworking it when you're doing it like that?
No, because
Okay.
you're gonna let it rest. So it definitely, you want it to come together. And then I like to do it on the board because you're gonna get to learn the feel of your dough. And you also learn, I don't need all this other flour over here, okay? So who gets the mixer out and they put it in there and they're like, I gotta get all that little flour out. No, it costs 3 cents. Don't mess with that flour over there. Get it out of there. I'm serious. You're making a pie dough or anything like that, you wanna just,
I feel very seen right now.
no, here we go. So I'm gonna have you knead.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get it more worked so that you're not
My hands are clean, everybody.
well,
I can
you
wash
boil
them.
it, so you could really not have, you could go out in the garden and then come make
Sure.
pasta. Ah. Oh, an apron, yay. All right. So we're gonna knead, and it's gonna come together. What's interesting about it is that you wanna resist the urge to add more liquid or more
yeah.
water or eggs. Because pasta dough, and here, we'll just move
It
this
looks like
thing.
it wants it. It looks like it wants.
It wants it, but it really doesn't want it because then you're going to end up too wet.
Okay.
All right, so here you go.
I'm just gonna knead this for how long?
10 minutes.
Okay.
I'm just joking.
All right. There are lights pointed at me and I'm talking into a thing. I will do whatever you tell me at this point.
And well, what I was going to say is that the flour hydrates. So as it sits with the egg, it hydrates and comes together. Okay, I think I got it. It might be a little hard though, I don't know. What do you think?
It feels hard.
You're like, I don't want to knead it, Sarah. Leave me alone.
I don't want to do anything wrong.
You're just pushing dough down on the table.
That's true.
That's the beauty.
The nice thing about being a food writer is that
That
you.
looks good. You're doing great. All right, you just.
Okay. So how
It's
much
It's pretty forceful,
for how?
which is why you
more
can use
times?
the KitchenAid mixer. Look, there's one over there. Let's throw it in.
Do you want to do it? Oh no. I was like, really? Okay.
I don't think
feel like
this-
you've been throwing shade at that thing.
No. I mean, this is gonna come together. It's almost there.
Okay. I can keep doing this
So-
until you tell me it's done.
Well, what I think is good is that you take it. So I'm gonna help you.
Okay.
So now put your hands on it. All right, you're gonna press down.
Okay.
Then you're gonna take this and
Oh, and turn it over. Right, I remember this. There's this Big Mouth Pasta here in Madison, and they teach pasta classes, and they're very fun. And I highly
Oh my
recommend
God,
them.
that's awesome.
Feed kitchens, y'all. It's really fun.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's great. It's Argentine pasta though.
Really?
Like-
Oh, because you know what? Many Italians went to Argentina.
They moved to Argentina, and so she learned from her Argentine husband.
There's
Name's
actually a
Kelly
few
something.
Argentinian restaurants in Rome. And that's the crazy thing about Italy is there's no really ethnic restaurants there. There's a few Japanese, a few Chinese. But Italians like Italian food. We're good, don't worry.
Okay, I worry a lot about things.
Well, so this is the other part of pasta. It knows when you're scared. It does. It's not gonna, if you don't tell it, you better listen up, pasta dough. I'm coming for you. I'm forcing you together. Then it's not gonna do it.
Pie dough can also sense my fear.
Well, pie dough doesn't want to get hot, so pie dough has many issues. All right, we are gonna let that rest.
I did almost nothing. That's good. All right.
See, I'm not scared of it. It's gonna.
All right.
All right, let's come over here. So, the chef in me was like, oh, let's change up our arrabbiata and make it kind of fun and interesting. So, what we do at the restaurant is we grind our shrimp. So, and I put shrimp in the pasta because I really like shrimp and pasta. But I also hate chasing around the shrimp to find it when you eat the pasta, right? So you're like, here's my bite of pasta, and there's my shrimp. And you like stab it, and then you like have no more shrimp left for your pasta. So we grind the shrimp, which is gonna let the shrimp kind of come all together in the sauce and be, that's a good idea, right?
Yeah.
And shrimp doesn't overcook when it's ground. Like shrimp in its normal state overcooks. But once you break down the connective tissue and the shrimp, it's like golden. So
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
never would have guessed that that would be true, but it probably has to do with the proteins or something in it.
yeah, I think so. So shrimp grinder, or you could use the food processor. Either way, if you use the food processor, you just want to throw it, just pulse it, right? You don't want to make shrimp meatballs, right? Yeah. So shrimp go right in there. They're gonna come out. They're coming, they're coming, they're coming. Look at that. They're gonna be great.
It's texturally really interesting.
No, but it gets good in the pasta.
No, I believe you. It just,
Yeah, it looks weird, but
it does look very weird. It looks,
but it's
yeah.
good.
I mean, I'm here for it. I will eat whatever you put out. But.
All right. So we have our ground shrimp. Great. I'm gonna wash my hands again. Okay. Let's check our dough. How's it feeling? Ah, it's getting a little softer. It's almost there. Okay, so ground shrimp go in. And then we're gonna put a little bit of olive oil. Do I have olive oil?
No, I don't think you do.
All right, but we're
So
gonna
you'll
just
get it?
put a little oil. I have like a little oil from here.
Hang on. There's probably
So-
someone back here who has olive oil, yes? Can I
Or
just-
canola
all right.
oil. We'll just need a little bit to put into the. So I just add
Our
a little
friends are gonna
oil
get us some.
because if you don't put oil, then the shrimp are gonna like come together and then be clumpy. So by putting a little oil on them allows them to cook kind of more broken up, which is great. Another part of the arrabbiata is oil. I make a chili garlic oil, and
You need the good stuff?
yeah, thanks. Appreciate it, Chef.
No problem.
I can wing it, but oil's a little hard to find. All right, so chili garlic oil. So in the recipe that I gave you guys, I feel like it doesn't take the garlic as far as we do at the restaurant. At the restaurant, we like burn it until it's black, okay? Mainly because I know my mom, and she would never cook anything until it's black. So I'm not even gonna try to write that in a recipe. So I'm like, she's wrong. That's not right.
My mom would, but I don't think she'd intend it, and then she'd pass it off like she meant to.
Oh, really? Well, garlic is delicious when it's black. In the Japanese culture, they make mayu, which is this black garlic oil that's insane, delicious. And they take the garlic and they totally burn it. And that's also a little bit of the inspiration here. So the chili garlic oil, we're gonna put into the pan. Do I have chili flakes? I think I need those too. Maybe they're in here. No, we'll get
Flour.
some in a minute, it's fine. So for the restaurant, we shave. So another thing that Italians don't like is minced garlic, and neither do I. Minced garlic is nasty, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. This is awesome, look at this. Okay, so minced garlic tastes totally different. And then if you like tell people to put garlic in a food processor and pulse it, it It's gonna make your whole recipe taste like garlic. And the older I get, the more sensitive I get to garlic. And it's not, it affects my stomach, but it affects my palate. Like all I taste is this like garlic mouth, but it's different. It's like bitter. I don't know how to describe it. And it's something that I used to love. Like my first culinary school capstone was like garlic on everything. It was like salted asparagus with garlic and this with garlic. So
I also noticed I will often like smash to get the skins off. But it like probably breaks the cell walls of the garlic and does something you don't want it to do.
well, so we shave all our garlic on the mandolin at the restaurant. So we take the
That's
garlic
very different, right?
and really thin on the mandolin, we hold it in olive oil. And then when we make a pasta, we just take 1 spoon of a little bit of the oil and 1 slice of the garlic, and it goes in the pan. And it kind of melts and liquefies naturally. For the recipe though, for home cook, I have just smashing the garlic clove. But if you want to get, fun and creative, try slicing it first. I think it gets more golden more quickly and more evenly brown. So just thinly slice some, or you can use the mandolin. And do you see how I turned it? Like I'm not trying to get like every little nub to there, then I'm gonna flip it and keep going. And then again, like, okay, 10 cents. Way not worth your finger, all right? I'm serious. You're like, I gotta get that last little thing of garlic out. And then you go to the emergency room and you're like, what happened?
I literally don't do salt baked things because I'm worried about the amount of salt I'd be throwing away.
Oh, sure.
Because think about how much salt you do at a salt baked something.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well,
and how expensive is it? It's not, but.
It's not, but in like Tuscany, they had this crazy salt tax back in the day, and now they don't put any salt in their bread. Have y'all been to Tuscany and had the senza sale bread? It's like no salt in any of the bread there. And it tastes totally weird, but it's still good. All right, so chili garlic oil. So this is kind of like my go-to oil that I make to put on anything, like pizza, omelet. I make like a rice bowl at night, because I get home and I'm like, what am I gonna eat? Rice cooker is amazing. So you put some rice in there, you take a shower, it's ready. Little fried eggs, some like cucumber, all these veggies. Like just a really easy go-to thing to make at home that is great. And then if you have this oil, you can kind of make it even, more delicious.
Does it keep for a long time?
Yes.
In your fridge?
Yes. I actually still have some in my fridge that's like a year old. But I think it's still good. It's in oil.
Does it change?
No, I don't know. Does it?
Does it become more pungent or not?
I don't think so.
I mean, it's like coffee.
Yeah, back in the day, no one had refrigeration, so.
Oh, fair point, yeah.
Yeah, you just put it all in oil. All right, so we're gonna let this chili garlic oil go. So I started with the oil and the garlic. All right, let's come check out our dough again. I feel it.
I worry that I messed it up. Oh, it's very soft.
See? So we all were like, oh, it needed more, which you can. It doesn't hurt, but then you just will need to put way more flour when you're sheeting it. So this is the decision you have to make. Am I going to put a lot of flour while I sheet it, or am I going to have it be a little drier and then I don't need as much flour? It doesn't matter. It's just preference. And I think every time I make pasta, it's totally different every time. It's so weird. All right, so now you're going to knead it again. Get it to come together, and then we're gonna roll. But I actually think I need a rolling pin. So, sorry, chef. He's like, oh my gosh. I'm not getting invited back. This is bad. This is a bad showing already. Tell him you really like the demo though, and then we'll be.
Do you rest the pasta dough for the same reason that that famous chocolate chip cookie dough recipe where you have to rest the dough?
No.
You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah, and you leave it in the fridge overnight or something, and the egg goes all through it or does something like science. There's science involved. Definitely science.
I mean, hydration is a huge yes. So
from
hydration.
The eggs.
Don't hit me with it, chef. He's like, what else do you need? I don't know yet, but we're gonna see. Okay, so my garlic. Can y'all see in here? Kind of. Yeah, so we're sizzling, okay? All those garlics are frying.
Smells
so good. Really good.
Yeah.
But we want them to get dark in color. So magic of television, I would definitely let this rest way longer, but I don't want to have to just wait and not be able to show you all the dough. So first thing you want to do is roll it out with your rolling pin and get it going.
If you let it rest longer, would it be easier to do this?
Oh, yes.
So you're
1,000%.
by speeding it up, you're just asking more of your arms.
I am. Well, and this is why when you make it, you don't feel as guilty eating it. It's like amazing
Because you did your workout,
because you did your workout.
making it.
So I'm gonna get it to go through. This is my first step of getting it to come together. And because it didn't dry or didn't hydrate, it's just a little broken, but that's okay. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take it and you're gonna fold it. And fold it back into itself. And then we're gonna roll it again.
That garlic smells so good.
Yeah, do you wanna check on it and see if it's golden yet? I'm not sure if it is, but we'll
It is
see.
certainly not.
Is it still like kind of white and pale? No, it's getting a little bit.
Just on the edges.
Yeah, that's good. So golden,
Golden,
delicious.
just a little bit, but most of
Golden
them
is
are
the
not.
best thing ever.
Is this one of the situations where, like, if you find that little green thing inside the garlic, are you like militant about getting rid of it or no?
I don't know. I've heard that people are like that.
Yeah.
They're like, that green
I'm too
thing
lazy.
is bad.
Yeah.
It's just the sprout.
Now
So
golden,
maybe it
okay.
has different flavor. It's just the sprout. Like I have an onion on my counter right now at home that has a full green onion coming out of it. I don't have the heart to get rid of it.
Life finds a way.
And there's a chance that I'm gonna need a little green onion for my rice bowl when I get home tomorrow. So I'm gonna use that.
This is pretty tannish.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're gonna add our chili flake.
Oh, okay.
You wanna hand me those chili
Yeah.
flakes? All right, so y'all see how dark that is? You're like, oh my God, I never cook anything that dark. Can y'all see it or no? Yeah. Okay. Ooh. Ooh. That's good. You want that. That's flavor, all right? All right. Chili flake goes in. I feel like I need my cherry tomatoes and lemon. I have a whole lemon, but I need some cherry tomatoes. Would you go to the Magic Kitchen and see if they have cherry tomatoes? For the chili garlic oil.
Were there no? There are cherry tomatoes right here.
That's for the pasta though. So we'll need, I'm definitely not getting invited.
Oh.
All right, so for the sake of the demo, I'm just gonna cut these pieces that aren't going together, just because I wanna speed up the making of. All right.
They're on their way.
Okay, good.
Feels very like pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yes. All right, so we're gonna keep rolling.
This kind of pasta thing is not a very expensive pasta thing, but you have to figure out how it's gonna like attach to your table, right?
You do. Thanks, Chef. All right,
Does it-
so now
not
we're all
necessarily.
burnt here, okay? Chili flakes burnt, garlic is burnt. So I learned making Creole food, how you stop a brown roux is you add a bunch of onions to it when it's done cooking. So here is cherry tomatoes. So that's my roux. That's my onion and my roux. So stand back because it's gonna pop on you. But that's gonna cool it down. And then I'm also gonna put lemon peel, which I don't have a peeler, so I'm gonna use a knife, which is great because that's what you do in the kitchen.
I could have. Oh well. Anyway.
And what I love about a little bit of lemon is it's gonna add some beautiful flavor. My poor pasta dough is going, why are you ignoring me over here? So just a lemon peel right in. I'm gonna pull that off. Add a little bit of salt, and you're gonna be super good going together. All right, so now I'm forcing my dough back together, which by the way, you won't have to do this because you let it rest
For like how long?
for like 30 minutes.
Okay.
30 minutes in the
okay.
fridge or overnight is great.
So fridge versus counter.
Fridge counter if you're going to do it that day.
Okay.
And then fridge if you're gonna, use it the next day.
How much longer than a day can it last?
Fresh dough. Fresh dough can last a long time. It just will oxidize on you.
Which means it'll turn a color or get dry? Or
The flour will oxidize. And it'll turn kind of like dark black specks. So that,
Does it
I mean,
taste
it's just,
bad?
it looks not great, but it tastes fine. It all depends on how fresh your flour is too. So you want to have flour that's not like super old. Like I keep my flour at home in the freezer. Do you guys do that? No? Oh my gosh.
I
Go home and put it in the freezer right away. No, it just helps. Like, I don't know, growing up in the South, we had weevils that would
Yeah, I
come.
was gonna say,
and,
it kills
like,
weevils. And I've had weevils once.
and then
it's not
if
good.
they go in your whole pantry, you are totally donezo. Like, what do? You have to throw everything
really
out.
upsetting.
It's very upsetting. You're like, I'm sorry I didn't watch over all of you little things sleeping in my pantry better.
I freeze them all now. They all die in the freezer.
In the freezer, now they all die in the freezer.
Yeah, they all die in the freezer.
All right, so you can see it came together, right? You're like, whoa, how did she do that? Because y'all were all worried it wasn't going to come together, right? I mean, I was worried like, this much.
But not that much.
But I know, you gotta make it do it. So, I hope what you're learning here is how to fix it if your dough is too dry. That's what you're learning. All right, so we're just gonna keep rolling. Do you wanna try rolling?
Yeah.
All right. So this is at 4 right now. Let's go to 5.
5 meaning it's gonna be tinier?
Thinner, yeah.
Thinner.
So do you wanna turn
Words
it? Yeah, that works. Great. And you need like octopus arms to do this part. So cut the dough in half. Like if you make a big batch, like 500 grams, 600 grams, cut it in half and wrap it so you're not working with the whole thing. Like do like several batches, trust me.
That or have a friend helps.
But then do you have counter space for all this pasta?
No, that's true.
That's the part where I think it gets a little... Here, you want to do it again, and I'll put it in. Great. All right, this will be the last time. Great.
At 5, we're at 5?
We're at 6.
We're at 6, okay. Where did you start it?
We started it at 1.
At 1, okay. Are these fairly standard across the board in terms of like the brand of this thing?
They are, yes.
Chitara?
Oh,
Marcata, whatever the heck it is.
huh. That is the Kitara.
Chitara.
So then you move this thing over here,
Okay.
and now it cuts it. All right, grab those little guys. Yep.
Like grab them?
Just grab them, and I'm gonna go through. There we go. Perfect, 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 perfect. Then you take them, and you have like, if you had a ponytail, then you know how to do it, but you're gonna take it and you're gonna twist it. And then this is your little ball of pasta.
This is what it looks like at Elementary on the east side, you guys. They do them just like that.
All right, so one more time. Oh, sorry. Oh,
You're like, oh my God, this girl should never be in anyone's kitchen.
no
ever.
way. You're doing great. All right, grab them. But you notice I didn't have to put any flour on any of it
Oh,
because
yeah.
the dough is really dry. But feel how dry, like feel how
Yeah.
they're perfect. All right, great. So I'm gonna let those hang out for a minute, and then we're gonna cook some pasta. So for this chili garlic oil, you can put it in the blender, or here I'm gonna put it in the food processor. And if you don't want to burn your garlic, don't. But I think it tastes good. But you don't have to. You could take it to golden. You could cook it to straw color. You could go to fried chicken color. You know,
Good fried chicken color.
but I would say if you're nervous about it, I would do it like less, you know, I would do it on a lower heat so it's not like bat out of hell burning over here. Do it on low and let it slowly get to golden. All right, so goes in. Uh-oh, every food processor is different, right? Let's see. Sorry, y'all coughing because of the chili garlic oil? A little, I hope not. Nope, that's not it. Does this one go this way? Uh-huh. So, put your hand or towel, and then we're gonna let it go. All right. We're almost there. We're in the home stretch here.
See, but if you let your pasta rest for too long and it got little black specks in it, and then you served it with that, no one would ever know.
No one would notice, and it would
That
be
has
great.
little black specks in it, and no one would know.
No one know.
Covering it up. See, there you go.
All right. Smells so good. All right, so let's talk pasta. So my friend Bill Kim, who's amazing, he's the one that taught me, like, Sarah, if you're gonna cook in the wok, you need to have everything ready. So this recipe is what I call my kit. So in my kit of pasta, I have tomato pulp, which is passato, which comes in a jar, okay? So
Is it called anything other than tomato pulp?
passato,
I
Sorry.
mean, like,
Sorry, I did not mean that in a bad way. I really did not.
like when I go to the grocery, it'll say like diced tomatoes.
No, this
Whole
is in a
tomatoes.
jar. So this is in like a
Like a
tall,
jar,
Like it's like
okay.
a tall, slender jar. If you don't find that, he's all laughing at us over here. If you don't have that, take whole peeled canned tomatoes and put them in your food processor.
That is exactly the question that I was trying to
But
ask.
crushed tomatoes is full of water. Do not waste your money on buying crushed tomatoes, okay?
Dun, dun, dun.
Like, I grew up with Rotel, it's amazing, but you open it up, it's not that tomatoey inside. It's a lot more water, which is great, because that's what it's for. Like, I put it in my queso dip, and it's amazing, because I don't want the queso dip to be red. Crushed tomatoes, or hand crushed, is another great thing. You could take it, put some gloves on, open up your can, and then go to town. That's also a great way to crush your tomatoes. All right, so,
That is good to know. Thank you.
yes.
I just have never seen like tomato pulp at my specific grocer.
And you might, yeah. It's one of those things where it's like on the top shelf and you never notice it. And now you might be like, oh, there's
there it
that.
is.
But they might not have it. Cherry tomatoes, we're gonna put those right in. Okay, tomato paste. And I like to buy tomato paste in the tube that you can squeeze out and keep in the fridge.
Same.
Amazing. That whole can of tomato paste, what do you do with it? It sits in the fridge and gets mold. No. The little tube. So tomato paste goes into my kit.
Is this a word that you had, or is
Yeah,
this a
kind
word?
of.
Okay.
This is like we kit stuff, because
Yeah.
then it's like super consistent. So
No, it makes
shallot,
sense. I was just wondering if it came from somewhere other than
it just
you.
came from Bill Kim going, cooking in a wok is unlike cooking in a saute station where you can have your whole cooler of all your garnishes and throw them in as you want through different times. When you're cooking in the wok, you're cooking in the wok. You're not doing anything else. If you need to do other things, don't make this dish. Like, this is not the time to make this one.
All right.
All right, so shallot, parsley leaves, and I like to do Italian whole leaf parsley. The whole leaf, I don't like to chop it because it looks gross and black. And then basil leaves, and I like to tear those by hand too, into like 4. Just throw them right in there. Yeah, this is how Italians don't chop their basil. You can. Lemon zest.
Because it oxidizes, or like breaks.
Yeah, basil doesn't want to be bruised. It's very delicate of the herbs. It's like the most delicate herb out there. Too hot, too cold, it's not happy. Lemon juice.
That's true. As soon as it even thinks about frosting, it's gone.
Oh, it's gone. My poor basil last year, totally.
I waited too long year before last, and it was gorgeous, big, huge
Oh
plant,
my
and then it was
gosh. It went
just
by.
nothing.
This is the kit,
Nice.
which is totally atypical. It's not how a normal Italian would cook. Normal Italian, we get the shallots going, tomato paste, caramelize that, tomato pulp, add that, add your herbs, add your lemons, juice, zest, you're done. So this is wok cooking. We're doing something a little different. All right. So I'm just gonna move this guy so we have some space there.
I feel like it was Fuchsia Dunlap who said that when she was cooking in the wok, she would do like a splash of oil and then dump it out, and then put another.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
zhuzh of
so
oil
it
in
depends
there?
on what kind of wok you're using.
Ah, okay.
I think that, like, if I was at home and I had like one of those electric woks that's like Teflon, great. It's gonna be great. Just crank it up on high. But what? It's true. But like at the restaurant, we get our woks from Chinatown, and they're steel, and it's a really thin steel, so it gets really hot. This is a great one that you can get for at home that's flat bottom so that you don't have to have one of those wok rings that you pull up your thing. So you can do it in this. Or if you wanted to, you can make this in a big like saute pan if you didn't have a wok. Either way. So now we're in the waiting because I got to get the water to boil. So as soon as that boils, we will go to town. Our tagliolini. Now, if you wanted to do another shape, tagliatelle, you would just use the thicker cutter, and it would be a little wider of a ribbon. Looks so good.
Does
I'm
this have
so
a number
happy with
too?
this.
Or no? Is
A
this just
number?
like this, how wide this is?
No, this is just the tagliolini or the guitarra
Oh, okay.
or angel hair. Like if you saw like a handmade angel hair, that's what this would be. The thing I love about Italians is they name all the pastas different things. Like orchietti are little ears, and tortellini are belly buttons. And there's other names you really shouldn't say out loud. So the Italians have all kinds of words for all this stuff. But it's like, what I love about Italy is that when you think about Italy, Italy was a united country for the first time in 1861. Whoa, like when was the U.S. united? Like the U.S. was 1776, right? So to think about Italy, an area of ancient culture, of traditions that date back further than I can even understand, as a united country is younger than the U.S. And so that's why the regions are so specific and they're so different. And like every dish from every town is different. It could be similar, but they're not gonna like that one. And they're not gonna call it the same thing. Like it's a very territorial country and region to think about their food, and that's why the products are so important. All right, so we're gonna get it hot. Hot. So if you feel it, I like to, can I have that olive oil there? This one. Oh, and we're gonna bring our ground shrimp over. Great. Perfect.
We also have whatever this kind of olive or oil is.
So that's the chili garlic oil for the
all right.
garnish. Okay, I'm gonna move this over.
Previously prepped chili garlic.
Yeah, so we have it.
That is a workhorse.
Oh, it's ready for business. That's a big KitchenAid. All right. So key here is bring all the mise en place over. Bring everything over that we need to make this. All right. So I'm going to put a little oil. Oh, yeah, it's hot. So you're going to take a towel and you're going to use a tong if you need to, so you don't feel like you're going to burn yourself. You're like, yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to turn it off, and this is just what you do to make sure that it's seasoned. Okay, so you want to get it hot, put the oil in it, rub the pan, so any type of cast iron or steel pan that you have, you want to do this.
So you're still using olive oil even though the smoke point is different than what would
No,
normally be?
I use canola oil, but we have olive oil right now. So.
Got it, okay,
But you're
thank
very
you.
good, very.
Just
so
checking.
olive oil has a much higher or lower smoke point, so olive oil is not the best oil to use for this. But canola oil works, 80-20, like a blend works, grapeseed oil is great.
Grapeseed.
All right, so our
Peanut.
water is boiling. So we're gonna throw the pasta in, and we're gonna pretend like that has a lot of salt in it, right? I just took my salt and boom, seasoned the water.
Okay.
All right?
Do you need salt?
No, we're good. I
Okay.
think we're good. So pasta goes in. Now we're gonna go crank this guy up. Wrong burner.
There we go.
All right, and then this is what I call the pasta marriage ceremony. Yeah, it's true. See, Italians, it's all about love and food, all right? That culture's got it figured out. I wonder what all these things mean. Okay, we're gonna go a little lower.
There's one of them that says Max Griddle.
Yeah, I know, that's hardcore.
I don't even
You
know
gotta
what
be
that
careful.
would do.
Well, we're gonna turn it back up a little bit. All right, so as soon as your pasta floats, it's looking really good.
How long was that? Like a minute?
Yeah, like not even.
Oh my God.
Fresh pasta is a very quick cook. All right, so we're ready. Oil's hot. You're gonna grab that bowl. This is like we're going to town now, all right?
All right.
All right, so I'm gonna pull my block away so I don't light my thing on fire. Crank it up. We're gonna stir fry the pasta. And I want to get a little like color, like a little bit of toast on the
Okay.
pasta, which is also not typical for something that, watch out for that mic, that Italians would do. You guys
Problems
can still
Madonna
hear me.
never has.
I'm telling you, that Madonna, I don't know how she did it. I'm like over here just cooking, so I'm not even dancing or singing. All right, so the pasta is looking good. Now I'm gonna add my kit, and I'm gonna add my kit to the outside of the wok so that it starts to fry and get like a really nice.
Oh, and kind of caramelize a little.
Exactly, and that's what I love about the wok is that it gets hot and it sears, and like you use this outside of it to caramelize and sear your sauce. And the best thing I can tell you about tomato sauce is high heat and oil is your best friend. So if you just take tomatoes and stew it down, not gonna taste that good. But if you have hot oil and you have a pot, I just add my tomatoes right to it and I don't stir it. I let the oil kind of come up above the tomatoes and caramelize the top, and then I'll stir like every 3 minutes for any kind of like tomato sauce like that.
Nice.
All right. So, oh my God, doesn't it smell great? Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it. All right. Then we're gonna add in our shrimp, our little ground shrimp guys. What I also love about this dish is you could do dried spaghetti. I mean, it took no time to make this kit, right? To just chop some onion or some garlic, cherry tomatoes, cook your pasta, get it right into the wok. And I love the lemon. It all smells so yummy. All right, you want to tear some of that basil?
Just like tear all of it or some of it?
Yeah, we'll save one leaf for garnish probably.
Okay, I saved a leaf.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're searing. Yeah, go ahead and go in. That was great.
I was so worried about messing you up.
The pasta knows.
Pasta, no. It senses your fear.
This is like, that's like, it's hard. It took me a long time to even get to not be super nervous about it. So,
Oh, yeah.
So if your wok isn't hot enough, like let it, like the more you stir something, the less it's going to heat up. So now we're starting to really kind of sear. And if you wanted to, if you needed a little bit of water, you could add some pasta water to it, or a little fish or chicken stock that you have. If you wanted to save the shells from your shrimp and make a shrimp stock, which we do at the restaurant, add a little bit of shrimp stock to it. That's really yummy.
That sounds really good.
And this is the marriage ceremony. So the pasta is cooking with the sauce. It's not cooking 100% in the water. You're cooking it at least half the time in the sauce. This is the difference. This is the second light bulb of Italian pasta that I really figured out there, is cooking it in the sauce. Like I grew up making spaghetti sauce, and it would be two separate things. I would have the, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I would have the pasta, and then I would have the sauce inside, and then I would put a ladle on top. Delicious.
That's what my mother did as well.
But no, that's not how the Italians do it. So
It's not a marriage.
I added a
a
little
roommate
oil
situation.
just to the outside of the wok to start to caramelize it. Because I just wanted to get a little bit more heat in there. And oil or fat is the conductor of heat, right? So if you don't have enough fat in a dish, it's not going to sear right. Like, do you see how that pasta is now starting to get kind of fried in there? Mm-hmm. That's the ticket. All right. I think our shrimp is cooked. Okay.
Oh yeah, it changed color.
Do you see how the tomato turned orange? Mm-hmm. It's not red anymore. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for the brick red color. That comes from the frying and the caramelization of the tomato.
You dry pasta at the restaurant too, right?
We do. We dry
It's like
one of our shapes. Well, actually, that's just for design.
Oh,
but
that was pretty.
it's gorgeous. Well, we originally were going to use it for that, but then, oh man, that would have been a disaster trying to go back there every 5 minutes to get pasta. All right, so to plate this, I'm going to take my pasta tongs, and I kind of go in sideways here, and I grab the pasta. All right, and then I just turn it. 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 And And then it goes right into the bowl, and then you just kind of do that. Yeah, that's good, right? Yum. And then I take my tomatoes and a little bit of my shrimp and put it right over the top. And then you want to put a few of those little basil leaves on top. Yeah, I would just kind of tear it. And then some of that yummy chili garlic oil, which I can grab. Well, I can grab it from here. Yeah. And then it's like this black oil, but it has so much flavor. And it adds so many layers to the dish. And then the final garnish, because I love texture, is a little breadcrumb. Right over the top, toasted with a little bit of olive oil, a little herb if you want.
There's parsley
How
or something in here.
gorgeous is that?
That's just beautiful.
Oh my gosh. So, yay! I don't know which view you guys have, but I hope I inspired y'all to do something different, yet special to you, right? Like, I think that's the key. Fusion got such a bad word for
Oh
so
my gosh,
long.
yes.
And this is kind of fusion-y, but it's not because it feels Italian and it's traditional or authentic to my hand.
Yeah.
So
Thank
thank
you so
you,
much.
everybody. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Sarah.
You're welcome. Yeah, some Q&A.
Oh, right, yes. Very good question.
So my question for you is, when you said you went to Italy and you've been to Italy like 14 times, like learning how to cook pasta, do you find that the flour and that you use there is a lot different than here because of the laws with the no GMOs and everything?
So
Does my question make sense?
yeah, so have been told, and I haven't 100% checked this, but flour and wheat has not been genetically modified. Only corn is one of the few grains that has been GMO. So flour and wheat is really not a GMO specific issue. I think that how it's milled is, and how much of the bran and everything is removed. The pasta flour that we use is a 00 flour, so it's milled in the Italian way, and they do take out a lot of those things because they want the flour to be tender. The big thing is they don't eat a huge portion of it. So 100 grams of flour is a traditional portion size. That's why when you look at the box of pasta and it will say feeds, I think it's 8 people for 1 pound. I don't know about you, but my 1 pound feeds 4.
Yeah.
So I think that's different, but corn is definitely something to be careful of with genetically modified strains. And yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was a lot you noticed a difference, like making pasta there versus here, if it was harder or easier.
I think we still use a flour that's imported from Italy, but I'll tell you what I was really surprised by is that they are buying grains from all over the world, from Poland, from Canada, from the US. Italy itself isn't large enough to grow all the wheat they need to make dough or flour or pasta. So dry pasta, like this flour, is a soft flour, and semolina is hard wheat. So it's all from wheat, but it's different strains.
Kind of along that line, the equipment that you're using at the restaurant, is it going to be something that you imported from Italy as well? Because I know some of the traditional pastas, they talk about having a brass die on the machine in order to have it cut in a certain way,
Sure.
or that, this was a stainless steel pasta maker, but is it something that you go that level of authenticity, or is that what works for your own?
That's a great question. So the brass die is extruded pasta. So earlier when I said there's several different kinds of pasta, this is what I would call laminated or sheet. And in Italian it's sfoglio or sfoglia. And the person that makes it is a sfolina. And so the sheeting of the pasta is always usually done with this type of machine, or what they call a mattarello, which is a giant wooden rolling pin. and they'll roll it by hand. Extruding pasta is similar to like a die, like making sausage. You're taking dough and you're forcing it through a die that then cuts it, that makes the shape. So to make something that's hollow inside, you can't make it like that. Like you can't make bucatini with this. But you need something that forces it through that's going to continue that hole through the pasta. So that's when we use brass dies. And we do have an extruder that has brass dies. Now the difference is like the mass-produced pastas that you buy at the store that aren't cut with brass, that are cut with or extruded through plastic, there's no texture on the pasta. So if you go home, look at your pasta. If it says bronze die and you feel it and there's texture, chances are it was pushed through a die that was made out of metal versus plastic. And so plastic is just like the Play-Doh plastic things that you would do, and there's no texture on it.
I remember those.
I loved that thing
I
when
love
I was
that thing
little.
too.
So anytime you can, brass die, dried pasta, spaghetti or such. Sheeted pasta is different. This is how you would make fresh pasta. Or in northern Italy, where they make all of the fresh pastas in Emilia-Romagna, they're also famous for tagliatelle and tagliolini, which is like this. Yes? And we do use brass cutters. I have wheel cutters that are brass that are amazing.
Amazing presentation. Thank you.
Thank
so much
you.
for coming out here. What culinary school did you say you attended?
Oh, so I went to the Art Institute of Houston, but my real, I learned a lot. I didn't know any Italian food there, so I really learned at Spiaggia Italian, and I learned on my own. I was really forced to kind of read as much as I could, and then through travel and those types of things.
Did you major in science at one point as well?
No, like I wanted to be a marine biologist when I was little,
Oh,
which a lot of chefs actually do want to be marine biologists. I know a few other ones that said that
that's
when they're.
hilarious.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
My question is, what advice would you give to someone in school now and when graduating soon and making this their career?
Well, I would say that ask yourself if you can close your eyes and see yourself doing anything different. If you would, then it might not be the best career, but that's probably the question before you go to culinary school. Right when you're about to finish school, I would say figure out like what type of food is calling your name and go to that restaurant and stage and try to get an internship there, or go to a restaurant that you like to eat at. I think that so many chefs get caught up in what they should do. Like should is a very bad word. Like should versus want. Like sure, we all should do lots of things, but what do you really want to do? I think you'll be more successful if you're cooking the food that you really want to cook and what you like to eat. Is I think very important. How's the pasta? Yummy? Awesome. Isn't it delicious? Oh, good. I hope that helps. I mean, I think getting in with a chef that cares, like when you go on a stage, you should interview the chef or the restaurant that you're like. You should also treat that as your interview for them, because I think getting in the right environment is a make or break. And thank God I was in the right environment where one of the chefs taught me to go in the cooler and see what talks to me, because trying to create a dish before you're ready, before you are confident, is very challenging. But the only way you're going to get the confidence to do it is through, doing it and making mistakes. My other advice would be you only learn through mistakes. So if you make a mistake at work or cooking, you're learning from that. If you do everything right, there's no one that, it's just, I think there's so many of us who get nervous about making mistakes or messing up, but you're never going to learn and you're never going to have any reward if you don't allow yourself to learn from those mistakes. And I hope that you could find a chef that would help you work through those moments.
Gift of failure, right?
Yes, It's huge.
If you want to buy one of those pasta machines that flattens it out like that, I'm going to be going to Italy soon. Is it best to buy it there or best to buy it here?
I would say here because they're heavy, and I don't know about you, but I'm trying to put Parmigiano and wine in my suitcase. Here is good, and I also like, KitchenAid mixers have a sheeting attachment. Home ones have a nice, a hand crank one is good. There really isn't a wrong pasta roller. It's just working the dough and figuring out your dough.
The thing with the sheeting one on the KitchenAid is that, like, especially when I was just I'm still first starting, because I've only done it like once, but I was like, it goes so fast and it doesn't stop. Like that, you're controlling it and you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna pause for a second. The KitchenAid does not pause. The KitchenAid is like, we're going, we're doing it now.
It's like the walk. We're lifting off here.
You're just like, oh God. So I'm gonna get one of those. That's my plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
First, congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
Success. And I was wondering, since culinary is such a creative field, do you ever feel like you're just out of stuff?
Yeah.
Because you're so busy and
Absolutely.
Like, you're walking.
Yeah, tracks. Yeah.
I mean, writer's block, I'm sure. Absolutely. It's tough. Like, what we do is so personal that we're up to so much criticism that it is hard to work through that. I think that I feel like it's like right now with like a new restaurant, I'm like, how do I create another Monteverde? I don't know if I have the zhuzh to do it, but I need to do it. So I have gotten into a pretty stable exercise plan. So I see a trainer 3 times a week. That has been huge for me. Not working out for the first 2 years of the restaurant was really hard. And I found ways to control my stress through that. And then a lot of time, I think about food in the weirdest places. Like we were flying to Miami the other day, and I should have taken a nap because we only had like 4 hours of sleep. But like it was hitting me, like food was coming to me. So I was like, get the computer out and type. And so then like sometimes I'm in the shower and I'm like, oh my God. Or sometimes I have a dream about food and then I don't write it down. And I'm like, oh my God, why didn't I write it down? So that is one big thing. Another thing that I need to do a better job, when I first went to Italy the first like 3 times, I took a journal with me and I wrote every meal down in the journal. And now I've gotten away from it and I hate it and I need to get back on it. But when you go out to eat, like, I feel like you can learn so much about so many things. Like, even coming here to the culinary school, I'm like, oh, the thing that holds their gloves in the kitchen, I want to take a picture of that because I want one of those in my kitchen. So it's kind of like you always see things around you all the time and write them down. So I have like several notes in my phone that I like have different titles and I keep adding notes to it because I might not have a time to use it now, but maybe in like 3 years I'm gonna need that. And if I don't have it written down, I'm gonna be depleted of that idea. So I think sometimes it comes to you and then sometimes it doesn't. So write it down so you can use it when you don't have it, I guess is my advice.
Besides your restaurants, what are your top 3 meals that you've had and where?
Oh my gosh.
That's a hard question.
Holy moly. That is the worst question anyone can ask a chef. That and what's your favorite thing to cook? I don't know. Carrots? No, joking. I actually had a friend that used to say that and it was amazing. It was like the best answer ever because no one really likes to cook carrots. But top 3 restaurants. Oh man, so there's a restaurant in Miami that's really great called Mandolin. And it's like super amazing, like Greek, Turkish food. And it's outside and just living in Chicago and not having that ever. It's really, really great. Let's see, what else did I love? I love Gibson's in Chicago. I love how old school it is. I love how when I walk in there, like the hospitality is at a level that is totally different. And I mean, they know who I am now, so that might be a part of it. But but what Gibson's does is they execute on a level for so many years, and it's so incredible. The martinis are like, I just read this, 10 ounces is how much their glass is, which is why I love their restaurant as well. But I just love the way that restaurant makes me feel. I love classic. Like, I don't want that to die, ever. Like, there needs to be awesome, fun, crazy new restaurants. There needs to be all different types. And so that's my like all-time favorite classic place. And then I would have to say my uncle used to like, he's no longer with us, but he was a really big part of my life. And so he used to, every Easter, would grill chicken, and he like converted this like oil drum into a smoker, and it would like open up. And he had like, we would like grill chickens at like a really low heat, like at 200 degrees for hours. And then he had this big cast iron pot, and he'd call it sop. And it was like lemons and garlic and beer, and he had like a mop. and he would like mop the chicken, but it like the skin would render and get kind of crunchy. I don't know. It's something that I don't think it's like so. I think barbecue chicken is one of the hardest things to actually do because it's very unforgiving.
It dries out.
Dries out, or the chicken skin is rubbery, or
Yes.
it's like totally there's a big thing there. So I would say, as like if I could go back and eat that, I would definitely do that.
Oh, yeah, that's lovely.
Hey, Chef. Thanks for coming up. What books were you reading at Spiaggia when you were coming up that were important to you, and are you going to do one?
Yes.
I actually had that question too.
I
forgot the
am
book
working
question.
on a cookbook, which is very exciting. Thank you.
I wanted to know and I forgot.
Yeah, so, but we're in the very beginning stage, so maybe like 1.5 to 2 years is when it would come out. It takes a very long time to do. Books that are really important to me, Paul Bertoli has Cooking by Hand, which is an amazing book. Marcella Hassan is great for like learning Italian. Splendid Table is also a great book by, is it Loretta Lynn Casper?
Lynn Rossetto Casper.
Lynn Rossetto
I met her
Casper.
like 2 days ago for the first
Yes.
time, and she's
Oh my God.
lovely.
Oh my God, tell her that she gets one once per day.
She's my auntie, and she doesn't know.
Oh my God, that's amazing. So those were some really
a
good
great
ones. I also like The Geometry of Pasta. It's a great book, really good. And it has like a bunch of different shapes and then sauces for each shape, which is very key. Not every shape has the same sauce and should not be eaten with the same sauce. And a lot of times we'll change the shape on our same sauce and it'll eat totally different. And I'm like, oh my God, why didn't we do this already? So it's like, even now we still sometimes pair the not best, like, but you learn through it and you're like, oh wait, spaghetti with sugo is amazing. And it just, that is a great book. Yeah.
So I have a wood oven in my backyard. And
Cool.
I make all my tomato sauces by hand and stuff, and I cook it down in there. So like the pizza sauce that I make, I just use Roma tomatoes, I crush by hand, salt and pepper, and that's it. But you said about the caramelization with the oil. I'm just wondering, am I missing the boat by not adding some oil
Yes.
to that?
Oh yes.
Because
So,
everybody loves it the way it is, and I don't want to mess it up.
well, don't
But
mess it
I wanna
up,
make it
but
better.
I think a little drizzle over the top would give you.
I like that idea because you said it kind of comes up and then over the
Yes.
top. It kind of helps prevent some of that.
Well, if you're using raw tomatoes, it might not come over the top because there's not like a wave that's going in and
Yeah.
But if you just drizzle,
Okay.
and then don't stir them.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I would let them get a little black,
Oh, yeah.
and then I would do like a one stir,
Yeah.
and then I would a little black, and then a one stir.
That's exactly what.
Yeah, I think so. Like the Italians, they call oil the lubricator. It's like what takes flavor A to flavor B. If you don't have them, it does not taste the same. And I know this because I grew up in a household with fat-free sour cream, fat-free cheese. It was like like the early mid 80s. My mom was like, no fat in our household. And I don't know who
same.
started that rule, but that is a terrible rule.
It's a bad
That does
rule.
not work because then you need a bunch more starch and sugar. So. Olive oil is great and your friend. And then to find olive oils, I think is hard too. So there's two types of olive oils, one that you want to cook with and one that you want to use as a finishing oil. So look and see if there's a date on your bottle. Chances are that's a finishing oil because the person who made it cared enough to tell you that it expires. A lot of times, y'all have, how long is your olive oil in your cabinet? More than a year?
No.
Out of here, get it out. But just a simple like Whole Food, like 365 or that California Ranch, or I love like those to cook with, and then but a
buy
good
it by
finishing
the
oil.
tin.
I love Tuscan oils. They're very peppery, very yummy, like just fresh tomatoes with Tuscan olive oil and a little sea salt. Oof, delish.
What would you suggest to somebody that thinks that cooking is having open table on speed dial and the martinis get in the way, but they want to get started on your basics?
So somebody who wants to cook but likes to go out to eat more?
Yeah.
Well, this is good. You got to come to Monteverde. I want you to be coming to the restaurant. I don't know. I think that the next time there's like a snowy day here, like plan to like braise something. I think braising something in a one pot on the stove, building the flares, searing something, adding some vegetables, deglazing, and eating it later is maybe one of the most rewarding things out there. So I would recommend that to kind of rekindle, and then you're not going to feel so like you were at the stove all day. but then also have a martini ready stat. I take mine with a lemon twist and up. I'm good. All right.
Nice.
Thank you.